Good afternoon, Mr. Santos, Mr. Rondon, other UIC staff here, board members, and general public. As special committee of the board of trustees, today is Thursday, January 28, 2021. Time is 12:01, and I'm calling this UIC board of trustees meeting to order. We have board members present and online. Name for the record.
Ricardo Molina. Ricardo Molina.
Francisco Castillo.
Roberto Ramírez.
Thank you. And my name is Camilo Vélez III. Let the record show that former board members is present and meeting has been duly called, and also this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. Have everybody please stand up.
To the flag of the United States of America,
And to the republic for which stands one nation, under God.
liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag,
I pledge allegiance to thee, one state under God, and one indivisible.
No public comments submitted. We'll jump into informational items, curriculum, and instructional updates. Gonzalez, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, members of the board, Mr. Santos, members of the audience. At this time, we do have some informational items. We can go to the next slide. This afternoon, we have some accountability updates, as well as STAR testing and STAR in the course information. We'll follow up with some CNI updates and then our prevention efforts. We'll start off with accountability updates by Ms. Emma Lissa, our Secretary of Special Accountability. Ms. Lissa.
Good afternoon, board members and members of the audience. Just to bring you some updates on accountability from the state, they will not issue any accountability ratings this year. So that is a good thing for our district and our campuses. However, they will continue with STAR, STAR EOC, and TELPAS testing. This testing has to be conducted at the campuses. They are not allowing remote testing for our students. And they are offering an extended window for online testing. So because in 2023, which is just 2 years away, the state is mandating all online testing, our campuses are going to use this opportunity that we do not have accountability ratings to begin testing our students online, and it matches the remote instruction that they have been receiving. Now, for online testing, the good thing is that we will get results right away for the students and the parents, and we will bring you results as soon as the district has those results. If we can go to the next slide, please. It is important to note that we will receive data, and we will receive data by the end of June. That's what TEA is projecting right now, and that data is going to be very important for us to be able to make plans for our instruction next year. Next slide, please. I also want to let you know that in December, when we had end of course training, we did bring in roughly about 80% of our students that needed to take an end of course exam. Each school did a phenomenal job about providing information to the parents on what safety precautions we would have. And so consequently, we had about 80% of our students come in to test. If we can go to the next slide, please. Now, when we compare that to the region and we compare it to the state, percentage-wide, United ISD did test more of the students that needed to take an end-of-course exam. We also have to remember that this is a graduation requirement for our students. So we were happy to know that comparing to the region and to the state, we did bring in more students to take the exam. Again, our campuses used very different measures to be able to inform parents and to provide videos on how we were going to be testing. I also want to note that Texas Education Agency coordinator, Ms. Botello, came to visit us during our testing to see what we were doing, since we are one of the few districts that had a large number of students testing. And they also congratulated our high schools and all of the precautionary measures that they took to provide the opportunity for students to take the assessment. Next slide, please.
A quick question, Ms. Lessa.
Yes.
Mentioned that 80% figure. What happens to the other 20%? How many students does that?
And we're looking at that. Because we have our own database system to monitor all of that. We are monitoring the students that did not come in the fall. They will have an opportunity in May, in April and May, to come in and take those assessments. Now, I do want to let you know that we have written, in fact, we wrote a letter to the commissioner in November stating that we were advocating for our students and asking the commissioner to provide a waiver for all of our first-time testers and for also our seniors, so that it would not impact their graduation requirements. To date, we have not heard from the commissioner, and now that we have data on our students, we're preparing a second letter to the commissioner, again requesting that he use the authority that he has to provide a waiver for our students. So if they do not come in to test, and again, parents had the option to not send their children based on our current COVID situation. We will have more information as soon as this year is over for our students to see what options the Texas Education Agency will have for them.
Okay, Ms. Lessa, go ahead. Ms. Lessa, so I guess just to be clear, the children, the online testing is at the campus?
The online testing will be at the campus. They are not allowing any remote testing right now. We just got off of a session with Lead Forward, and we understand that they're looking into that, but because of all of the confidentiality with testing, this agency is not allowing it for this year. They must come in to test.
Just for the public's sake, or the parents' sake, what precautions are being? What was your dry run test for like the STAR that's coming around at the end of course? What was it? Was it a benchmark testing? What was it? And two,
okay,
precautions are you having at the campuses to assure that the students are going to be safe?
Okay, so the good thing, because we are a block scheduled district, we ran a real assessment at the high schools, and we took notes of all of the measures that were taken. So we will follow the CDC guidelines. We will have very few students testing in a room. The good thing is that when we go online, they give us about 5 weeks to test. That's going to give our district the ability to bring in small groups at a time to take care of their reading, their math, science, and social studies at the middle school. So we are currently working with the student assessment department. We are working with our campuses to provide schedules that will limit the number of students that we will have on campus, and so that we can make sure that we have those precautionary measures. What did we have? Well, let me tell you that for the high schools, we had them check in with Dr. Owl first. Then they came in, keeping them 6 feet apart to their designated areas. In their testing areas, we had plexiglass dividers. Yes, dividers. So every student was protected, in three areas, front and their sides. Again, our staff was very careful to make sure, when they were going to the restroom, that our students were being kept apart. We also had staggered busing for them, so that when they finished, we could make sure that they would head to their homes. And then staff also letting parents know that students were on their way. So we provided videos for parents so that they could see what our processes would be. We checked temperatures, just everything that we could think of. We went ahead and put into place to keep the CDC guidelines front and foremost, and keep our students safe and our staff. because we also did it for our staff.
The state did or will allow now to submit a waiver so that those students who are not in the testing grades, say for example, pre-kinder, kinder, first and second grade students who are going, and we're only testing third, fourth, and fifth, so we'll be bringing that waiver to you all for approval, that they can have asynchronous instruction at home those days, and that way we can use the entire school facility to separate those kids even more so.
How about graduating seniors, so that's a requirement? Do we have a figure how many did not take the exam that's required?
I can go ahead and get those numbers for you. I know I have them, but I just don't have them on hand with me right now. However, we do have another testing opportunity, which is the April-May. So they have an opportunity. I know that the campuses are already looking at those particular numbers and providing that additional support, instructional support for the students so that they can be ready to retest in April and May.
Because it is a requirement.
It is. Up to now, it is a requirement. So what we're asking in for the commissioner to waive is to waive the requirement on the assessment, or to allow us to use our IGC committees, which are individual graduation committees, to say they've completed the course, they've completed a project, they're good, they meet the state requirements. So that is what we're asking our commissioner, but we have not heard any information yet.
Thank you, Ms. Gus. Thank you, Ms. Gus.
And if we can go to the next slide. So this is what we look like compared to the region and to the state. So everybody understood that we were going to have instructional losses simply because even though our teachers can control the teaching environment, they cannot control the learning environment. And what do I mean by that? I mean by what's happening at home, because again, 95% of our students are learning remotely. So all of the interruptions, or whether the students are logging on, or, just the learning environment at home is something that we cannot control. So we knew that was coming. The state has also put out information that the biggest impact was going to be to the math and to the sciences. And so that's also reflected in our data here. So this is for our first-time testers only, and we are comparing first-time testers in UISD to the region and to the state. So we are very pleased that for the English 1 and the English 2, we did not lose any ground compared to the previous year at this time in December. And we actually had some gains, which again, we are very, very happy about. When we come to the algebra and the science, and even in the social studies, we did see losses. But I want to point to one specific area, the approaches area. If we go to UISD, it's about the 5th one right there. Thank you. The approaches area. This one is important because if they meet this percentage, or they meet the approaches, they meet their graduation requirement. And again, that's, our goal is to have as many students graduate as possible. So when I look at the algebra, we were at 98% of our students meeting the approaches, and we're down to 82%. So again, that waiver we are requesting from the state is for those students that did not meet the approaches. Now, we've lost 16 percentage points there, but when we compare to the state and we compare to the region for first-time testers, it's only about half of what the region and what the state lost. So again, hats off to our teachers and our instruction and all of the support that they're getting from all of the departments in our district, because again, we're seeing that we are outperforming the state and the region, and our students are benefiting from the solid instruction that United ISD provides. When I look at biology in the approaches, we did have a 10% loss there. And in US history at approaches, we did have a 6% loss. But again, in comparison to the state and to the region, our percentage passing rate is much higher than theirs. So we have not forgotten the students. Those are the ones that we're going to be working with. High school principals are already working on their instructional plans so that we can recapture as many as we can in this spring assessment.
Define for me real quick, what is approaches?
The state, thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Castillo. Thank you for that question. The state has 3 levels that they look at when a student takes an assessment. When they look at approaches, that is the standard that the state has set as passed. You have met the criteria to pass the test. When we look at meets, the state set that standard a little bit higher, and that means that the students are very, very securely on grade level and are ready for the next course. They're not going to need as much intervention as a student who would be at the approaches level. And then finally, masters, that's almost not missing just 1 or 2 questions on the assessment. And in other words, that means that the students have very, very well mastered the assessment. It used to be commended performance way back when we were just transitioning into STAR. But that's what the state has: approaches, meets, and masters, 3 levels that they use to calculate our accountability ratings and to also provide information to the parents and the schools so that we can continue planning interventions or planning additional opportunities for our students.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have our technology. Judy Garcia.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vélez, board members, Mr. Santos, and colleagues, and any community members that are watching our meeting today. Just a brief overview on what the department has been doing since April that we transitioned from face-to-face instruction to our virtual internet-based teaching environment. We started in April, and from April to now, we have trained over 2,600 teachers, 200 administrators, 300 campus support, and of course, all 200 plus instructional support staff at CNI. And of course, we have done quite a bit of training with our different departments as well, as everyone has had to transition into the virtual environment, not just our instructional staff. We're presently using 2 different platforms for virtual instruction, and that is the asynchronous platform and the synchronous platform. The asynchronous platform allows our teachers to place all of their lessons, activities, and make them available on this platform for our students to access. Students also use the asynchronous platform, which is Google Classroom. Since we are a Google district, we do use Google products. The students are able to submit all their work, and teachers are able to keep a grade book, which they then transfer over into our Tyler system, which is where we keep all of our grades for our students and attendance. Then we use Google Meet as a synchronous platform, which allows our students to attend real-time instruction on a daily basis, with the exception, of course, the 4 days that were selected or approved by the board to do asynchronous instruction. Next slide, please. We've transitioned and continued supporting our teachers. Like I mentioned, we have done quite a few trainings. I'm not going to read over the numbers. You can see them there. Staff has been very busy, not just our staff, but we have worked in conjunction with the CNI coordinators and our different level execs to make sure that our teachers get all the training and support that they need. We continue to do walkthroughs. We continue to do custom trainings for the campuses, not just the standard basic trainings. We do what we can, whatever it is asked of us, we pretty much take care of. And I think from the information that Mrs. Lessa has just presented to you prior, you can see that this support has played a very major role in making sure that our students are getting the best instruction and learning. Next slide, please. As part of the continuous training support, back in April, working in conjunction with the with management, of course, Mr. Gonzalez and Ms. Gloria Rendon and staff, we put together the Teacher Learning Hub and the Parent Student Technology Learning Hub. This is where we house all of our training schedules, videos, presentations, links to meet to the different classrooms and meet so that people can actually do walkthroughs, all different types of procedures with regard to mobile learning devices. And you can see that we've gotten a very good response. So this is just and this is a live document. It is updated usually on a weekly basis to make sure that all the material on there is the most current. And these 2 learning hubs are available on the UISD website. There is a live link attached to this. I won't go through it now in the interest of time, but you're welcome to visit the UISD website or call my office, and we're glad to walk you through the actual learning hub materials that we have for parents, students, and teachers. Next slide, please. We have provided some additional training starting this last fall. We called something called Tech Tuesdays. We did quick trainings for our teachers, taking into consideration, of course, that our teachers put in a long working day. We decided to select a day once a week and do 30-minute quick trainings. And that 30 minutes includes learning a skill, being introduced to something new on a program, and then giving them some time for Q&A. So teachers do have that opportunity on a weekly basis. This semester, we have moved Tech Tuesdays to Tech Mondays, but we're still offering that same opportunity for them as well. We have done many different types of trainings. I gave you some examples there. These are just some examples. There are many others. In addition to the Tech Tuesdays, we also have Tech Wednesdays for administrators. We have Tech Thursdays for parents, and those are sessions in English and in Spanish. And we started something new with Open Mic Fridays, which means that my staff is available to teachers and administrators or anybody from staff to jump on to a live Google Meet with them. If they have any questions or they need help with anything, they will have a live staff member to go in and help them through a G-Meet. We thought this turned out to be a very useful tool. Those of us that have had to go home for different reasons with regard to COVID, whether we different staff and administration, we found that having a live Google Meet open for staff and teachers and administration just makes it, helps us work smarter and not harder. Next slide, please. In an effort to provide preparatory opportunities for our students to get accustomed to what is coming, and that is online testing. In another year or so, by 2022-2023 school year, we will be going into full online testing. With this in mind, we made a purchase of a program called TextHelp that actually has toolbars and dashboards that emulate what the students are going to see on the actual online test. So this is going to give our students a couple of years to practice using these great tools to be able to get ready for online testing. Next slide. Mr. Perez, I believe.
Yeah, thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Santos, members of the audience, in lieu of time, I'll be brief with my presentation. Just wanted to give you an update of some of the initiatives that we have put together since the pandemic started. Very first thing we had to do was to deploy 25,000 Chromebooks to our students because they needed them to be able to learn from grades from 2nd to 12th. In September, we received the iPads for the little ones, for the pre-kinder to 1st grade. Those have been distributed. We're in the process of distributing already 5,300 that came in about 3 weeks ago, and they've been prepared by our technicians, ready to go. We will be getting more in another week, so there will be a second deployment around late February. All parents will be notified of that. This will be for grades of 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and some 8th graders that did not get a Chromebook before. They'll be getting a brand new Chromebook. Next slide, please. Now, okay, one of the things that we also did, we made a major improvement with Google Meet. We signed what is called an enterprise license. And just to give you some figures, we have an average of 230,000 sessions every day. That means if the student logs in 3 or 4 times to the classes, that is registered as a session. We also have over 520,000 messages every day that are transmitted between administration, parents, and teachers and students. Another big improvement that we saw, it was the extended moderator session. What does that mean? This allows the teacher to allow the student to come in to the class. In the past, at the beginning, we had kids sharing links and interrupting classes. So that was stopped after Google made this big improvement. The privacy background settings has been also very good because it's a noise reduction tool that is built into the software to be able to say if the parents are talking in the background, this does not interfere with the kids session and the other kids don't get to hear what is going on at that house. Next slide, please. Okay, another improvement that we had to do is in the bandwidth. We went ahead and upgraded United South High School's network infrastructure. They had the oldest infrastructure in the district, and that really helped them out with the bandwidth capacity to be at the same level as the other high schools. We also upgraded the CNI building because a lot of the sessions were coming out of that building and they had very old equipment as well. And we also upgraded central office. Central office was causing a bottleneck. When you have to go to the cloud, every session has to go to Google and come back to the district. So because of that improvement, that helped us a lot on our bandwidth tremendously. We also doubled from 10 gigs to 20 gigs to the internet connection, and we reserved 10 gigs exclusively for the Google applications. The other 10 gigs are shared for administration, teachers, and staff. Next slide, please. Okay, another project that we did was the bus MiFi project. We had 40 buses that are throughout the city and the city of Rio Bravo and El Cenizo, where they provide internet connectivity to the students. We're seeing the use of those buses, and it has changed a little bit because the kids now have their MiFis, but however, they're still providing a service to the students. Next slide, please. Another one that we did is MiFi. We distributed 5,500 MiFi devices. The very first 2,500 were purchased with district funds and a grant through T-Mobile. And the way we issue this is families that express a need. When the district send the survey for remote learning, those were the families that got the first 2,500 MiFis. Then TEA gave us a grant, Operation Connectivity, which TEA pays 75% of the cost of the MiFi. Those were an additional 3,000 that we received, and they were distributed on 3 priorities. Priority number 1 was for families that are low income, that are on food stamps or government help. Priority 2 was economical disadvantaged students, and priority 3 was the general public. We never had a chance to get to the general public because they were distributed already to those families. Next slide, please. Okay, another project that we did, we installed outdoor access points at every campus, and this allowed students to go to the parking lot and submit an assignment. It also helped us with the houses that are around the school. They receive internet access through this project. We also installed 1,150 remote learning cameras. What we noticed is half of our teachers did not have a camera built into their computer. So when they were going to be teaching, they needed a computer to be able to do that. So we went ahead and put that together. Next one, please. And last but not least, we have provided 21,574 requests for technical support via a form, work order, or a telephone call. Like I told you at the beginning of the year, on the very first 3 days, we received 3,200 calls from parents that needed help with connectivity issues, bus MiFi locations, and password resets, etc. That's my last slide in the presentation.
Mr. Perez,
Yes, sir.
you mentioned here that the region, El Cenizo and Rio Bravo, colonias.
Yes.
On the north side, on Peñitas, and,
Yes. We have
Encinal and all those areas.
Yes, sir. We have them where there was a student population, I believe 15 to 20 students. We were able to put a bus there. There are some in those areas. And we actually have a map in the website where the parents can go and see where's the nearest bus. It's already in the website. Yes, sir. To answer your question, we did.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Just real briefly to my fellow colleagues and fellow board members, I did have the pleasure of meeting with Mr. Perez and Ms. Judy Garcia through a orientation program that I'm still running with as the newest member of the board. I'm very thankful to them. They were outstanding. I congratulate them for their outstanding work. I know it was thrown on them to do this because of the pandemic that we're in. I just wanted to share that thought with our fellow board members. I'm very pleased, and I look forward to helping them in any way I can. Thank you much.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo.
Moving on with our presentation this afternoon, I think it's appropriate right now to bring out this Bragging Rights magazine that came out, Texas School Monthly. This is in December. The magazine did come out, and it's appropriate this time for UISD, who leads the pack in instruction, also educating our students during this pandemic by meeting their social needs. Next slide. So the Texas School Business 14th edition Bragging Rights included UISD. It was one of 12 districts in the state that was recognized for their innovative program in suicide prevention collaboration with our licensed psychologists, as well as all our counselors within our district. And the right side, you see where the magazine came out in December, this statewide. Next slide, please. It is multifaceted suicide prevention. It is as a district, we are one district, very few in Texas, that actually has a district manual for suicide. Professional development, which began with which included Dr. Scott Poland, nationally recognized expert, and has been training our school counselors, principals, and administrators. 2018, we're still pending middle school, elementary, but we've been working on hands with our psychologists who have trained all our counselors within our district. They themselves do multiple trainings throughout the year. Next slide, please. Here's some of the resources that are at the campuses and at district level for our students, for our parents, our community. The next slide. For the science of suicide, this program is the only suicide prevention program in the United States that is scientifically proven to increase self-help skills and reduce actual suicide attempts. In Texas, there are only 9 school districts that implement this program, and UISD, I will tell you, is one of them. In 2018, one annual lesson for middle and high school students was offered. The school council at the forefront providing these services. Our psychologists provide the training, working with the director of guidance and counseling. We monitor a program all the time. The program uses a 3 simple steps, which is the ACT: acknowledge, care, and tell. By the last slide, as we celebrate Board Appreciation Month, we want to thank you for your support and continued support. Just to remind everybody, UI is not just about instruction, we're about students, so we have to look at the welfare as well. We thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you.
Your staff, Mr. Gonzalez, that I know that y'all have worked really hard being thrust into the pandemic like everybody else. You had to formulate a plan, a strategy to deliver instruction to the children, to our students. Technology stepped up. Absolutely. Your coordinators, your secretaries, all the teachers. I know it's an imperfect world, it's an imperfect plan, and it's always evolving. But I thank you and your staff for the outstanding job that you're doing. And I want to also my hats off to the teachers.
Absolutely.
And everyone else who's implementing this program. It's not easy. I hear every day how teachers are really struggling and they're having a hard time trying to keep that student engaged, trying to keep that student's attention and focus in place. Obviously, the suicide prevention as well plays an important role now because now there's other problems that are being spurred because of this technology, this virtual instruction, you know, and a lot of students now are suffering from emotional and other social issues. And so it's difficult for everybody, but I want to thank you for keeping the program going and keeping USD at the top.
Well, we appreciate the recognition. All the staff members that you mentioned, our support is for our teachers. So we want to recognize our teachers for the work they're doing because I can tell you doing walkthroughs, they said it's not easy. So again, we thank you, Barbara, for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Osana. Okay, moving on, we have items for individual consideration. Item MOU, Memorandum of Understanding between the United Independent School District and City of Laredo concerning UIC school nurses assisting with city vaccination drives.
Yes, Trustee Superintendent Santos, this is a proposed MOU to the City of Laredo regarding the use of school nurses for some of the vaccination drives that have been occurring around town. The participation has already begun, but the MOU really just sets forth written parameters. So the most important one would be liability. You can move down a bit. There are liability protections in law that we're just making sure we set forth in writing when we propose this to the City of Laredo. There really would be no cost associated with the MOU. I believe these are at the time volunteer assistance to be provided. It's for an initial proposed 12-month period, but of course the MOU is at will, be terminated by either party at any time with 30 days notice. Long story short, UIC nurses will be following the guidance of the CDC, of the city, of the FDA in administering these vaccines. And the way we're proposing it is that the city would handle the forms and collection of those forms once these vaccination drives are done with. And I know a lot of entities around town are assisting with this vaccination drive as we try and get the majority of our population vaccinated against the COVID-19 pandemic.
For motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion in a second.
Just want to share with the board before you go, Mr. Vélez, we're also working with the city on, offering our facilities. I think it's a combination of going back to what Mr. Garcia was just sharing is it's a community effort. I just want to share that with the board that, Ms. Rendon working with the city and with the fire chief, Mr. Hurt. You know, anytime that they need our support, I mean, to help our community, help our citizens, you know, United ISD is moving forward to help them out. I just want to share that with the board, because you'll see some of our employees, some of our vehicles at this injection drive-throughs in different other areas.
I think anything that we can do from our district courses, and obviously commend our school nurses that are
absolutely
volunteering and assisting. They're going to be there. Very much thankful for that. Any further discussion on the item? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those against? None opposed, motion passes. We have approval of House Bill 3, board adopting voting plans.
Yes, present members of the board, members of the audience, Mr. Santos. At this time, we come with House Bill 3. It is a requirement for all campuses in our district to monitor progress toward meeting the yearly goals. So what we have here is our administration is recommending that the Board of Trustees adopt the college readiness, military readiness, CCMR goals, and early childhood literacy and mathematics goals as presented. We can present it to you. I know we sent it before.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and second. Further discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Motion passes. Thanks, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
This is the training that you'll have on February 2nd, sir. This is the additional training that you'll have on the board workshop, 5 o'clock.
So we see last item approval of CSP as a method of procurement for the reconstruction and upgrades of various athletic facilities at United South High School and Lyndon B. Johnson High School. This one was information already sent in?
Well, we had sent it in, but what happens is it's a method of how we're going to try to get a proposal. What it is our 2 athletic fields at OBJ and South. Both were, since the time those campuses were built, the facilities there, we're having major issues.
Right.
Keeping up with those facilities. The hardest part is obviously once we get a price, then our role is begin to look at what we're going to try to fund this. And we're hoping that somehow, maybe through the bond, but this allows us to go out, get a price, get an estimate, then we'll come back to the board and share with you what the price was, and hopefully we can find some funds to.
Are we looking at starting with just one option, either replacing the field, or are we looking at the artificial turf?
No. Well, this is basically replacing the field with TIF grass, which I think Alexander United High School have. And I think that's the route at this point in time that we'd like to move forward on that.
Mr. Santos, what I would like is to see if we could probably maybe get the bids to see how much that would cost us versus the cost of putting an artificial turf. That way we can compare to see what the differences would be. Because I mean, I would also like to see the maintenance it would cost us within a 10-year period if we would do it the way that we're planning right now, to see what the difference is on the artificial turf and going this route before we make a decision on this.
I think if we do look at artificial turf, I think we need to look at all the other 2 high schools.
Correct.
Because I think that's obviously, it'd be very difficult to set
Well,
up.
I think, Mr. Santos, for right now, and yes, I agree of looking at the other 2 high schools, but right now, I think if we can place just right now in looking for our 2 high schools over here in the south side, because actually the other ones don't need repairs and we do need repairs in our schools right at this time. So I think if we were to start off maybe with 2 schools for right now and just look at the cost for these 2 high schools, because our fields over here are real deteriorated right now. So before we start on the other 2 high schools.
I would agree with Mr. Rodriguez. Sometimes it may be more economical to get a price on 4 versus 2. But I think United South, certainly their irrigation.
Yeah, I think South and OBJ both are in need of trying to repair and fix their facility. So we will get an estimate.
Maybe get us on two. then-
regular TIF, and then we'll try to get an estimate on
It's
also
cost
artificial.
If we could plan that over a 4-year period or
Yes.
something like that, or a 5-year period.
We'll work with you.
So we have to do a modification, Mr. Garcia, on the it's presented there, if we need to look at both options.
My opinion is you do not, you're really, all you're approving at this point is the CSP as the method.
Yes. The approval today is just for the method of procurement. Our default method is job order contract. So we're just here today asking you to do the CSP method for this particular project.
Ms. Jackson, then, if they approve the item as this, we can look at both, the grass and the artificial, correct?
We can do two options on the CSP, and then we would bring both options to the board, and then the board can decide at that point which option they will go with.
Okay.
And I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
All right, so we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Also in favor?
Just to add on there, I do agree on it, just to make sure that it's on record that we're going to approve this with knowing that we are going to be looking at prices between the artificial turf and going with the other type of grass.
And the other item is to be able to look at where we're gonna fund it from.
Yes.
Right, looking at both options for just regular grass, artificial turf, and
Yes,
then
sir.
looking at funding options as well.
Yes, sir.
Point of discussion, what were the other schools involved that were being mentioned?
It's just LBJ and United South.
Okay, I heard that there might be up to 4 schools, that's why I was curious to know.
Well, for right now, I think these are the 2 schools that are most needed. I think the other 2 high schools, they're up to par, and they have new turfs as we speak.
And we can look at the.
We can look at,
Right.
obviously, the 2 south schools, being LBJ and United South, both on TIF and also artificial. And then at the same time, look at artificial, get a price for both Alexander and United High School. This way, we have a price for all 4.
Right.
And then obviously, the board needs to decide.
I think eventually all 4 high schools should be turfed at one point or another. But Mr. Rodriguez is correct. South and LBJ are probably a higher priority at this time. But if it's economically feasible or cheaper to get a price on all 4 instead of 2, then perhaps consider.
And I agree with that, Javi, also.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
I second the motion.
Thank you. For the discussion, all those in favor, aye.
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 All opposed? It passes. And with that, we're at 12:44 and motion to adjourn.
A move.
Second.
Second.
Stay safe.